Hola Mis Amores, it's your Nori Pouncil, the guiding light to conscious high achievers, trusting their inner voice, being self aware, and enjoying their inner peace. And today, I am so excited to have you here for video number 2 in our 45-day series, The Path to Inner Peace. In today's video, I am going to focus on talking about why is there a cost? Why it costs you to manifest your purpose. If you've ever wondered why that is a thing, today I'm going to cover that. And there's a few reasons why I want to go into this and why I want to discuss it at length. The first thing is most people don't realize that there is a cost associated with changing our lives, that there is a cost associated with manifesting more of the things that we're desiring. I know I was one of those people that when I began this journey and I started to realize that there was a cost associated with this, it took me back because I didn't count on that. I wasn't considering that, which makes sense because I hadn't done it before. So I didn't really know that this was happening in the background. So if that's you, you're not alone on this. Most people do not realize that when we go into this journey of healing and growth, there's going to be a cost associated with it. And because of that, we're often surprised when it shows up. So, why is this an issue for conscious high achievers? Why do we specifically experience this? And why do we want to be aware of that? The first thing that comes up for me on this, y'all, is that when it comes to us, most of us don't realize that we are very much attached to all ways of being. And we don't realize the level and depth of that attachment that we have to all belief systems, to all actions, to all values. We've learned what we know because other people taught it to us. And we love some of these people. The people that have taught us these things that no longer serve us are people that really, really cared for us as well. So we are attached to the things that they have taught us. And this is why this is an issue for us because when it comes to experiencing a deeper level of inner peace, these are things we're going to have to release. These are things we're going to have to let go. And most of us are not aware of it. And most of us are not open to it when we become aware of it because it feels uncomfortable. So, being conscious and being self aware does not exempt us from going through this process. Being conscious and being self-aware actually create a heightened level of sensitivity for us because we're going to feel this pressure to change. We're going to feel this pressure to show up in the world differently because we see it. And once you see it, you cannot see it. I was just talking to one of my friends about this today. So it's important that we know that there is this cost and that we understand why the cost matters and why it's important that we show up to it with confidence and with openness so that we can experience the most learning available for us in this situation. And that's really what we're doing today's video, to be honest. Because I used to believe that there were some things I quote unquote shouldn't have to deal with. And I would catch myself saying it like, why do I got to deal with this? I shouldn't have to deal with this, or I shouldn't have to deal with this anymore, or this shouldn't be a part of my reality. Every time the word should will come into my lexicon, I knew something was going on. I knew that I was attached to something and that I was having a difficult time letting it go. So there are 3 things that you're going to learn today. I got my notes, y'all. The first thing you're going to learn is what is the cost of manifesting your purpose as a conscious high achiever? Now that you know that there is a cost, what is it? What is it for us? For those of us that like to achieve, those of us that like to get things done, those of us that, are that bring that energy to the table, what is that for us? What is that cost? I'm going to break that down for you. The second thing I'm going to share with you is why it is important that you pay the cost to invest in you, to manifest your purpose. Most people, when they get the call to manifest their purpose, they don't necessarily answer. And when I say manifest our purpose, I'm talking about the thing that you're focused on right now, because being here alone is a manifestation of your purpose. What you do with that purpose is up to you. But for today's conversation, for the purpose of this, I'm referring to you walking in the path that you desire to walk in. And most people don't answer that call. I'm going to share with you a story around how I answer that call and what I learned from it in a second. But before I do that, I want you to understand, like, not everybody answers that call. So those of you that choose to answer that call, those of us that choose to step towards that awakening, we're going to experience some things that are different. And when you know that what's coming up, when you know what's in store for you, you're way more excited about paying that cost and taking action on it. The third thing you're going to learn is I'm going to share with you 3 ways that manifesting your purpose brings you more at peace with yourself. When we are walking on our purpose, there is quite a bit of discomfort involved. And at the same time, there's a lot of peace involved. There's a lot of yumminess in there too, babes. And I want to share with you what that is. And I'm going to give you a bonus, especially for staying with me to the end. Now, before I jump into all these gems, and I want to talk to those of you that are ready for the next step, because when I create these videos, I know that there are people watching that are ready for the next step. They know I'm the mentor for them. They know they want to go on this path with me. And they are also aware that they desire to have my one-on-one support with them as they are manifesting their own purpose and moving through some of the challenges I'm going to share with you. And if that's you, then I want to make you an invitation right now. In the description section for this video, there is a link to work with me so that we can co-create magic together. The way you do this is to apply for a Self-Trust Mastery Level Up session. These are 45-minute conversations where you and I sit together and we take a look at where you are in your journey and what are the things that you want to be aware of, what are the blind spots you want to be aware of as you step into your next level with inner peace and with joy. You can apply for one of these sessions, especially if you decide to move through this with inner peace and mental calm, because that's what your girl is about. All right. So click on the link in the description below to get there and to submit an application. So I want to tell y'all a story. Okay. If you watch the first video of the series, I talked about the death of my uncle and how that inspired me to take a whole new set of decisions, make a whole new set of decisions, and leap into the unknown. So if you haven't watched that, I talk about the importance of the breakdown, and I shared that particular breakdown. You want to check it out. There's a lot of amazing gems in there. But in that story, in that video, I shared about me leaving Washington, D.C. and moving to Florida. Here's what I didn't talk about in that video. When I moved to Florida, I made the decision, my husband and I, we both moved to Florida and we decided we were going to live off of our retirement. And when we made that decision, we wanted to hold space for ourselves so that we can learn more about ourselves, so that we can understand more about who we were, because it was the first time that in our adult life, we had space to ask ourselves, am I doing what brings me joy? Am I doing what lights me up? Which is what my uncle wanted for me as well. That's actually where those questions came from. And when I began to ask these questions and live off of our retirement money, while we also figure out the business. At the time, we were like, okay, what kind of business are we going to have? How are we going to make money? How are we going to pay our bills? And in that journey, I realized that there was a lot going on with your girl that I simply hadn't had the space to see. There were a lot of thoughts I had about my abilities, a lot of beliefs I had about what people thought about me and how important that was, a lot of triggers, a lot of things that were triggering me left and right that I hadn't realized was happening, what was happening. And I remember feeling really frustrated at points and also feeling very annoyed because, like I said earlier, I used to really be strong on that should energy. I shouldn't have to deal with this. I decided I'm following my purpose. I decided I'm taking the next step. Why is everything not unfolding for me right now? Why am I not a millionaire already? And in that time, I began to see myself in a different way. And there were a few things I identified that were cost. of manifesting my purpose, especially as a conscious high achiever. The first thing I identified that it was a cost. That's something that I had to be willing to expense, something I had to be willing to, because the cost at its core, y'all, I looked this up. If you Google what a cost is a cost is typically the expense incurred of making a product. So when you are changing your life, when you are reinventing yourself, when you are shifting the direction of your being, you are essentially creating something new. And there is a cost associated with that. And there were four things that were part of that for me. The first was my belief system. The first thing that I had to be willing to change, the first thing that I had to be willing to, the expense I had to be willing to incur in my healing was shifting my belief system. I learned a lot of the thoughts I believe from the people around me, and they learned those things from the people around them. So it wasn't always in alignment with me, in my higher self. But I didn't know that at the time. So I was just going with it. And when I moved to Florida and I started to be quiet and I started to listen to myself, I realized that I had to change my belief system. There were some things about my belief system that weren't in alignment. The second thing was my values. Before I moved here and before I began this journey of self discovery, I had a lot of values that were reliant on external validation. I would approve myself if I get this. I would allow myself to celebrate when I get this. I would be okay when this thing happens. Always out there. And what I learned was that moving here, moving to St. Petersburg to live out my purpose in this new expression, moving to Florida to learn who I was required that I change my values. That I stopped focusing my values on external validation and instead shifted to internal joy, being led by the things that bring me joy. The third thing I realized that I will have to expense and shift was my spiritual practices. Before I moved to Florida, I would say my spiritual practice was pretty scattered. I wasn't doing, I would say I started meditating. So that's something I was doing. But that was pretty much it. And I wasn't praying as much, kind of went up and down. I wasn't connecting with my spirit guides or my ancestors as much either. I was very much focused in my male dominant energy and taking action on what I felt I needed to be doing at the time, usually pressure from the external world and expectations of other people. When I moved over here, I realized that that wasn't going to fly, that my spiritual practice will have to shift, will have to change, that my stillness practice will have to change, my silence practice will have to change in order for me to be able to grow from this experience and learn from it. That had to change. And the fourth cost thing that I had to be willing to like trade in or let go of was my daily actions. When I started when I started in Florida, it was the first time I was basically creating my own schedule myself. And my relationship with my daily planner was so, I need to be busy all the time or I don't know what to do because I was just so accustomed to being busy. And those of us that have been labeled high achievers or utilize the term because there's nothing wrong with it, sometimes you don't know how to relax because you always thinking you got to be working. That's what you've learned. And that's really where I was at too. And that's how I realized that my daily actions had to change. Building in time for me to go on walks, building in time for me to talk to my friends, building in time for me to do nothing became important. Why is it important that you pay the cost to manifest your purpose as a conscious high achiever? Why is it important that you are willing to shift your belief system, to shift your values, to shift your spiritual practices, and to shift your daily actions? Why is that so important? There are three reasons. why that's been important to me. The first one is making those changes is the fastest way to grow into your highest self. Making those changes for me has been the fastest way to grow into my highest self. Why? Because I have allowed myself to direct and channel my energy towards myself. I'm someone that is used to achieving a lot of things, and usually for other people or for other people's desires and not always my own. And in this process, I've taken all that energy that I usually send out there and I put it towards myself. And it has allowed me to get so intimate with my higher self because I am willing to do the hard thing to connect with her. I'm willing to release all these expectations of people to connect with myself. The second thing why this is important is because it is the most gentle way to be okay in your life, no matter what happens. Here's what I mean by that, y'all. I know that those of you that are watching that associate with the term high achiever, or you're the go getter in your family, or the doer or the fixer, you're going to relate to this. When you are always achieving things and people are like praising you for your achievements, but you're not achieving those things because you inherently, it came out of you to do that. You're doing it because you want to avoid a situation, or because somebody else say you should do it, or because you want to meet the expectations of other people. It's very challenging to celebrate those achievements. And most times we don't really sit in that celebration because we ain't really doing it for us. We're doing it for other people. And let me know if this is resonating with you in the comments below or in the chat. Let me know if you know what I'm talking about. And what begins to happen when you direct the energy towards yourself, you start to witness how much power you have when you put it towards yourself. You start to see what other people see when they be wanting to get your energy because they see what you can create. You start to see that for yourself. I'm getting so hype, I'm moving the mic. You start to see that for yourself. And that is such a very powerful practice to witness your power when you're focused on yourself. And it has been what helps me know that it's going to be okay no matter what happens, because I'm going to be okay. Because I'm going to have the tools needed to maintain my state of being okay through it. You hear what I'm saying? You picking up what I'm putting down? The third thing is when you are willing to shift those four things I talked about: your belief system, your values, your spiritual practices, and your daily actions. This is the most grounding way to get to know yourself with grace. And I know you want to get to know yourself because once you become conscious and you are aware of who you are, there's a part of you that's yearning to also master yourself. There's a part of you that's like, well, I want to master me too. And I know you want to learn more about you. And when you learn more about you, you're going to want to learn a lot quickly because that's how high achievers move. They just want to get things done fast. And when we are operating in that space, it can be a lot of overwhelm. It could be a lot of frustration because we can see a lot of things that we don't like. And that can get discouraging. So, in order to remain in our path, I've learned that when you move by releasing those four things I talked about and shifting them and paying that cost, like being willing to do that, you are able to trust your inner guidance when it feels hard and you do it with kindness. And there are going to be a lot of times it's going to feel hard to trust yourself. And it's going to be important that you have that kindness so that you can remain in the process. So I've shared with you what is the cost of manifesting your purpose as a conscious high achiever: your belief system, your values, your spiritual practices, and your daily actions. I just walked you through why it's important that you pay that cost. Why it's important that you allow yourself to see what's on the other side of shifting those four things. Number one is the fastest way to grow into your highest self. Number two is the most gentle way to be okay in your life, no matter what happens. And number three is the most grounding way to get to know yourself with grace. The last thing I want to share with you is the three ways that manifesting your purpose brings you more at peace with yourself. Because when you're on the other side of it, you don't realize that there's a lot of peace that's going to come from this. Sometimes you're focused on the things you don't like. Sometimes you're focused on the things that feel uncomfortable. Understandably so, is what most of us have learned. And I want you to know that there's something on the other side of that, that you are also giving yourself a number of gifts by allowing yourself to go through this process. First thing, the first way that manifesting your purpose brings you more at peace with yourself is aligning your actions with your heart. There is a very loving feeling that emerges when the actions you are taking are in alignment with what you are feeling. There is a very beautiful, loving feeling that shows up when you're thinking about somebody and you're like, I should call so and so, and you call them and you have beautiful conversation. That's a very loving feeling. And it comes out when you are willing to align your actions with your heart, with what feels good to you. That feels so loving and peaceful. You got to try it for yourself. Number two, being in resonance with yourself. You walk the walk and you talk the talk. So, you ever met people that like they walk the walk and they talk the talk and you can feel it? You can feel that the life, that the thing that they're sharing with you is the thing that they are living. And it's a very palpable feeling. That's why I'm committed to being the type of person that's like that, because I know what that feeling is like. And when you choose to release those four things we talked about earlier, when you choose to pay the cost of walking in your purpose and manifesting your purpose, even when it feels uncomfortable, you are able to tap into that feeling. You are able to tap into that feeling that you are in alignment with yourself, that you are in resonance with yourself. And that feels liberating because you don't have to be afraid of being found out because you already are who you are and you're okay with it. And that brings you a lot of peace because a lot of us are withholding ourselves from peace because we are afraid of being found out, because we're not being transparent about everything we got going on with ourselves. And when you are transparent, when you are in resonance, that melts away. The third thing is you keep your word to yourself. This is something that I learned from the Four Agreements with Don Miguel Ruiz, is the power of being impeccable with your word. That's one of the Four Agreements that I keep front and center and that I'm actually very focused on at every stage of my journey. And when you keep your word to yourself, you trust in yourself because you know yourself. Most people I've found, they have a difficult time trusting themselves because they don't know themselves. They don't know their track record, or they're focused on the track record that they don't like. They focus on all the times they don't go to the gym. They're focused on all the time that they're not eating healthy. They're focused on all the times that they are shrinking themselves. They aren't focused on all the times that they are showing up. They aren't focused on all the moments where they did decide to pick themselves first. They aren't focused on all the opportunities that they said no to say yes to them. So it's difficult for them to trust themselves because what they have been paying attention to is not what they desire. And therefore, they don't feel like they can trust it. And when you know your track record, it's liberating. It is so liberating. Right now, I was training for a marathon and I chose to not train anymore because it sold out. And a version of myself would have been like in the past, might have been, oh my God, like you quit on yourself. Why would you do that? You need to go find another marathon and train. That's looking for validation. This version of myself knows that I not only can I run one marathon, I've run two. And that there's a reason why this is happening and I can be okay with it. No matter what, I can be at peace with myself. And that's why it's important that we go on this journey, y'all. Because a bonus thing that happens is we free ourselves from our expectations of others and ourselves. And when you don't have expectations of yourself that you need to be performing at a certain level and doing all the things, you take this pressure off and you can create by being. It is dope. It is light. It is cozy and all the things. It's the type of icon energy I be on. So it's important that we are aware that this is what's on the other side. And this is why I want to make you an invitation. This is why I actually have a question for those of you that are watching right now. Would you like my support? Would you like my one-on-one support as you are manifesting your own purpose? As you are journeying through these moments that can feel uncomfortable, do you want to have me by your side? Because if you do, baby, I am currently enrolling clients for the Self Trust Society. Allow me to tell you a little bit about what the Self Trust Society is. So, the Self Trust Society is a container that I have created and curated for the past 5 years, I believe, 4 to 5 years. And in this container, it's specifically for those of you that are conscious high achievers that want to get a system, that want to create a system to help you collapse the time it takes you to take action on your intuition. You want to be able to act on your intuition. When your intuition says go, you are like, which side, which left or right, how high? Instead of talking yourself out of that. This is a place where we're going to focus specifically on what it takes to do that, what it takes to act on our intuition with kindness and with compassion. Now, inside of this 12 months, this is a 12-month container. So inside of this 12 months, you're going to become a more expanded version of yourself. Like there was no other way, no other option. And you're going to unlock a new level of inner peace with joy because that's what I focus on. That's what I'm really passionate about. That's what makes me different. I am all about inner peace with joy. There are many ways to have peace with yourself, and they're not all joyful. And I know that because I've lived it. And that's why I commit myself to doing this with joy, because I know that when we do it with joy, our life transforms in a completely different way. So I've opened a few spots on my calendar. I have 5 openings for self trust mastery level up sessions. These are 45-minute conversations where you and I, yes, me, I'm going to show up on that call there with you. We're going to take a look at your life, take a look at what's happening, where you are in your purpose, where you are and where you're being led to. And we're going to remove and identify the things that are currently standing in your way of journeying this with inner peace and with joy and with fun and with excitement, because that's what I want for you, especially doing it full of inner peace and mental calm. So to apply for one of these self-trust mastery level up sessions, you want to click in the description section and there's a link there to work with me. And it's going to take you to a page where you'll be able to submit your application and learn more about what we are creating here. And we can explore your alignment with us. All right. And I'm excited because I want to co-create magic in your life. Like it's gonna be a whole vibe. I wasn't always this person, and now she is. So I want that for you. I want you to be looking at yourself like that's the energy I always wanted to be on. So in the next video, I'm gonna be covering why isolation leads to transformation. Ooh, and I'm going to share with you what you can do to journey through the season of isolation with ease and with flow, because it's a very important season for us. And I'm going to share with you what that has been like for me. I want to really thank you for joining me today and for being a part of this series. Like I told you, the videos are going to be dropping on Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursday. So a new video will be up for you tomorrow, and that will wrap the videos for this week. Our theme this week has been the journey, the joy of inner peace. So we are unpacking what it takes to feel joyful about this journey. I am excited for those of you who have decided to submit your application, Mis Amores. I look forward to seeing you on the other side. And I look forward to seeing you also in the next video of this 45-day series. My name is Yanori Pouncil. I am the guiding light to conscious high achievers, trusting their inner voice, being self aware, and enjoying their inner peace. And I'm here to make sure that you see things clearly. Thank you for joining me, mis amores. Hasta luego.